Iran and Israel finally stopped fighting, but this Trump-imposed ceasefire is still fragile. On June 13, a war broke out between Israel and Iran. Hundreds of missiles and drones flew across the skies as both countries launched full-scale attacks. Israel struck hard, eliminating dozens of high-ranking Iranian military and intelligence officers. Its fighter jets bombed missile stockpiles, military bases, launch pads, even nuclear sites. Hospitals and media offices weren't spared either. As of the time of this video, the fate of ceasefire is still on knife's edge. The war can stop here, maybe grow even more, or lose pace until next episode.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't.
But what about the other regional power, Turkey? What does Ankara make of this war? Where does President Erdogan stand? Could Turkey get involved, or could it be next on Israel's target list? Turkey's position is complicated. It has a long-standing geopolitical rivalry with Iran and a deep ideological conflict with Israel. The war between two of its enemies brings both opportunities and serious risks. Let's take a look at history to understand how Turkey usually acts in times of regional conflict, starting with the Iran-Iraq War. In 1979, Iran's Islamic Revolution toppled the brutal monarchy of the Shah. Within months, cleric Ruhollah Khomeini turned the revolution into a Shia theocracy. This alarmed Iran's neighbor, Iraq, a Sunni-dominated regime ruling over a Shia-majority population. In September 1980, Saddam Hussein invaded Iran, expecting a quick victory. But the war dragged on for 8 years. Hundreds of thousands died, both countries were left devastated. Meanwhile, Turkey tried. It declared neutrality, kept trade flowing with both sides, and positioned itself as a crucial economic and diplomatic player. Iraq relied on a pipeline through Turkey to export its oil. Iran depended on Turkey as a trade and transport route. Turkey imported cheap energy, exported goods, and turned war into opportunity. Diplomatically, Turkey's neutral status allowed it to mediate between the two warring states. As one Turkish-American political scientist put it, when the ceasefire came in 1988, the balance of power had shifted in Turkey's favor. Two regional rivals were exhausted and Turkey had grown stronger. Turkey followed a similar playbook in the Russia-Ukraine war. While politically and militarily backing Ukraine, Ankara kept its ties with Moscow intact. It sold drones and ammunition to Ukraine, yet also helped Russia bypass Western sanctions. Russian capital flowed into Turkey. At the same time, Ankara positioned itself as a mediator, hosting peace talks and raising diplomatic profile. Now, in the Iran-Israel war, we are seeing echoes of the same strategy. Since Hamas' attack on October 7, 2023, tensions between Israel and Iran have escalated. In 2024, Israel launched a major campaign against Iranian proxies. It wiped out Hezbollah's leadership, struck Iranian targets even inside Tehran, and severely weakened Iran's regional influence. One major consequence, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria, one of Iran's closest allies. That's a huge win for Turkey. With Assad gone, the Turkish-backed Syrian opposition now controls the country. Ankara has gained massive strategic leverage, and it owes this success largely to the Iran-Israel conflict. Although Erdogan heavily criticizes Netanyahu, a weakened Iran could also open new doors for Turkey in Iraq, where Tehran's influence has long been strong. Meanwhile, Israel's focus on Iran gives Turkey and the new Syrian regime room to consolidate power in Syria. Economically, Turkey maintains strong trade with both Iran and Israel, giving it reason to stay out of direct conflict. Despite short-term gains, the war presents big challenges for Ankara too. First, refugees. If chaos spreads in Iran, Turkey could see a fresh wave of refugees on top of the 3 or 4 million Syrians and Afghans it already hosts. This would deepen domestic tensions and fuel political backlash against Erdogan. And Iran is not Syria, it has a much larger population. On top of that, the Turkish-Iranian border is mountainous and far harder to control than Turkey's southern border with Syria. Second, energy. Turkey heavily depends on Iranian natural gas. If the conflict disrupts gas flows due to sabotage or political decisions, Turkey's economy could take a major hit. And lastly, Kurdish militancy. A weakened Iran could create a power vacuum in its Kurdish regions. The PKK's Iranian branch, PJAK, might take advantage, posing a new national security threat to Turkey. Then there's Israel's military performance. For Ankara, it's intimidating. Israel, a small country by size, has inflicted devastating damage on Iran. It's proven its intelligence superiority, showing that it can track and eliminate high-level Iranian officials even inside Tehran. Israeli F-35 jets have bombed critical infrastructure across Iran with little resistance. Iranian air defenses seem powerless. Israeli drones, even smuggled into the country, have caused enormous destruction. And when Iran retaliated with missiles and drones, Israel's defense systems neutralized most of them. This display of power is a wake-up call for Turkey. Erdogan has clashed ideologically with Netanyahu for years, despite strong economic ties, including oil trade involving Erdogan's own family. Now, with Assad gone, Turkey and Israel find themselves in direct geopolitical rivalry over Syria. Turkey wants a unified Syria under Ahmed al-Shara. Israel prefers a fragmented, weaker Syria. Their goals clash and tensions are rising. Some Israeli officials have even floated the possibility of a future conflict with Turkey. Israeli and Turkish jets have already had tense encounters over Syria. In one case, an Israeli airstrike targeted a site where Turkey planned to build a military base. Meanwhile, Erdogan and his allies warned that Turkey could be Israel's next target. This would be a high-stakes, dangerous confrontation, and Erdogan knows Turkey isn't ready. After the failed coup in 2016, he purged much of the air force, including F-16 pilots. Today, Turkey faces a shortage of experienced pilots. Its aging F-16 fleet is falling behind in technology. Worse, Turkey was expelled from the F-35 fighter jet program after it bought Russian S-400 air defense systems. That decision cost Turkey a major technological edge. Today, Ankara is trying to modernize its F-16s, but that won't close the gap with Israel. Turkey also lacks a fully developed air defense system. It's now racing to build one called Steel Dome, using domestic technology. Ankara has also announced plans to boost its missile arsenal. Erdogan doesn't want war, but he is preparing for the possibility. In the short term, the Israel-Iran war has benefited Turkey, but long term, it poses major risks: refugee waves, energy disruptions, Kurdish militancy, and possible conflict with Israel. This war has become a warning bell for Turkey. Ankara might gain ground today, but the fires are getting dangerously close.